The Balatro Multiplayer Mod recently got a rank system where you're matched up against random players and have to fight your way to the top of the leaderboard. So to put my skill to the test once again, I decided to queue up and see how high of a rank I could get in just 10 games. If you are unfamiliar with the Balatro Multiplayer Mod, it puts players head to head on the same seed, and each boss blind is replaced with a PvP blind where you face off and try to beat the other player's score. First person to run out of lives loses. Heading into the first match, I wasn't sure how well I'd do, as though I've played a lot of multiplayer, I haven't played against many different people, so I wasn't sure where I stand in the rankings. So to find out, I queued up for my first game against a player named Ghost. After agreeing on the magic deck, I headed into the first shop and opened the Arcana pack, which I normally would pass on in the first shop, but was hoping to find something to use my copies of the Fool on. And with nothing interesting, I skipped it and purchased a Buffoon pack, which gave me a choice between a holographic erosion and business card for some econ. I decided to take erosion thinking I could use my copies of the Fool on Hangman, but this was not the correct play, as plus malt jokers are much less useful in multiplayer, and as you'll see in most of my matches later, it almost always comes down to scoring before your jokers trigger, making plus malt jokers only viable for getting by in the early game. Though this mistake wouldn't matter much, as in the next shop business card shows up again, so I purchased it along with to-do list, as I did not have enough for the overstock voucher. With the foil to-do list and holographic erosion, the blinds wouldn't be a problem, and I spent the next few blinds looking for a good enough tarot card to use the Fool on. And though I did find death in the next shop, I did not copy it as I had no good cards to use it on yet, and was just looking for a hermit. After generating some money in the small blind, I moved on to the shop and found the most common joker you will see in multiplayer, Photograph, which when combined with Retrigger and Glass, easily makes for the most reliable way to get high scoring fast. So I pick it up and breeze through the rest of the ante while generating money with to-do list and business card, then readied up for the first face-off of the match. And while I did have the foundations for a strong build, I was not strong yet, so I fully focused on econ, playing pairs for to-do list and saving my discards for delayed gratification. And while I likely could have won this face-off, having strong econ early can easily give you an advantage for the rest of the match. With this econ, I decided to pick up the bull for some easy scoring, though I wouldn't hold on to it for long, as not spending your money on rerolls risks the other player finding something strong that you would have never seen. In the following shop, I replaced to-do list with mail and rebate, which is easily one of the best econ jokers, especially when paired with blueprint. And while I would make some money with it in the big blind, it was soon replaced after opening the tarot pack and finding a soul card. So I got rid of it over business card, hoping to get a Triboulet, which would pair well, but I instead got Yorick, which would still be quite strong as I had already picked up an extra discard this ante. I then created a gold seal Glass King in the Spectral pack and picked up another copy of Justice in the shop. Glass cards are the most important thing in multiplayer, as all it takes is a few retriggers and you can get your score multitudes higher than your opponent. And in this next face-off I would do just that, playing a 4 of a kind with 2 Glass Kings being more than enough to win the face-off. In the next shop, I replaced the bull with defensive joker, which gives chips based on lost lives, and it was already stronger than the bull with $57. I then rolled down to $25 and replaced erosion with Gros Michel, looking to replace it with Cavendish. With the chips from defensive joker and Yorick starting to level up, I could easily beat the blinds without risking my glass. I then picked up the blank voucher as we were still early in the match, and finding the antimatter voucher later would be very strong. At this point, I had quite a solid setup, but these jokers wouldn't last long, as in the final shop before the face-off, there was a Spectral pack with an Ankh. The choice was clear, so I sold all of my jokers and created a copy of my Yorick, which was currently at 3x malt. Though they wouldn't do much on their own, so I also picked up half joker to give me some scoring for the face-off. But this wouldn't be enough, as for now, my opponent was doubling my score. This put me down to 2 lives heading into ante 4, but it wasn't all bad, as in the first shop of the ante, there was an antimatter voucher, giving me an extra joker slot, though I didn't quite have anything to use it for yet. So in the rest of the ante, I did my best to look for any scoring jokers before the next face-off, and leveled up Yorick along the way, and also picking up mail and rebate before readying up for the face-off. With mail and rebate on kings, I discarded them and looked for aces to work with Scholar, and just with this simple setup, I was able to score over 1 million chips. In the rest of the ante, I generated as much money as I could and rolled down to find anything to get my scoring up. And by the end of the ante, I found Sock and Buskin, which would be very strong as I had quite a few Glass Kings at this point. But I wouldn't end up using them in this face-off as I didn't want to risk them and just hope Scholar would be enough. This would not be the case though, as my opponent scored just a bit higher than me, meaning it was likely the wrong call to hold on to the glass, but I knew I was likely safe in the next round as I could score multitudes higher than that playing my kings. And in the next shop, I got quite a bit stronger as there was another Justice card along with Blueprint. And I made quite a blunder here as I sold Mail and Rebate for it, which would have worked well with Blueprint, and I didn't even need Scholar anymore, as well as the fact that I didn't need to sell either of them as I forgot I had a 6 Joker slot from the antimatter earlier in the game. Finally, later in the ante, I realized my mistake and picked up Photograph along with Smiley Face. I was now on 1 life heading into what could be the last face-off, but I wasn't too worried as I had saved all of my glass for this face-off, and with Blueprint on Sock and Buskin, I could play a very strong hand. Though maybe I shouldn't have been so confident as my opponent was nearly just 1 2x multiplier from beating me. At this point, there wasn't very much left in the shop for us to find, and with both of us on 1 life, I went into the final face-off with Photograph, 2 Yorks both at 14x, and Sock and Buskin re-triggering my glass cards, with Acrobat giving just a little bit more. And with all of this, I was able to score E11, which would be more than enough to beat my opponent, winning me my first Balatro ranked game. It was a good start, and though I did make some mistakes, I would keep them in mind to help me with my next matches. And it worked as I won my next match with an odd double stencil Dusk build, and had a very strong start to my 3rd game with a rare tag skip giving me a Brainstorm. If my opponent didn't do the same, this would be a great head start to the match. So after skipping, I picked up a Grosmi Shell to stay alive, and after getting so lucky on my first skip, I purchased and sold the cola to skip the next small blind, hoping the luck would continue. With Grosmi Shell going extinct after just 1 round, I replaced it with Raised Fist, and after seeing another rare skip tag, I took it, but I wasn't quite as lucky this time, as it gave me Baseball card and the Order. 2 of the worst rares, especially for multiplayer, but they wouldn't be completely useless as in the face-off I used Raised Fist along with the Order to easily beat my opponent, winning me the first round. I then picked up Mary Andy to give me some scoring with Baseball card along with the do list to hopefully give me enough money to find something to replace these jokers with. And while another rare tag was tempting, it was clear that I had the lead at this point, so I decided not to risk it and used the round to generate money with to-do list. I continued this strategy of copying to-do list with Brainstorm, and it worked quite well, so I picked up the bowl as it would work with Baseball card along with giving some chips for easy scoring. But this wouldn't be enough, as thinking I did not have a chance of winning this round, I went hard for Econ and was punished, scoring just 2,000 chips below my opponent. In the next ante, I finally replaced to-do list with Mail and Rebate, as it would be a lot easier to generate money while still playing strong hands. I also finally got rid of Raised Fist, replacing it with Bloodstone, making me regret selling that Hanging Chad earlier in the match. But assuming my opponent didn't have Brainstorm, it should be more than enough to win the next PvP blind, and I was right as they were still scoring quite low at this point. With Brainstorm copying Mail and Rebate, I had plenty of money to roll down, and in the first shop I found Blueprint, which I swapped out the bowl for. Then finally replaced Baseball card with Card Sharp as I could easily play 2 flushes per round. Now having Blueprint and Brainstorm copying Mail and Rebate, I could easily make up to $60 per round, meaning there was nothing in the shop my opponent could find that I couldn't. Which was unfortunate for them, as in the next shop there was a Baron, though not very useful right now, when combined with a Blueprint and Brainstorm could be very strong down the line. I also found a Raised Fist which would help it, but decided to pass on it for now. It was already time for the next face-off, and with my opponent still scoring very low, I was easily able to take the round with Bloodstone, putting them on their last life. I knew I was in a winning position at this point, and I just wanted to see how good of a Baron build I could get. So in the next ante, I looked for anything that could help, and picked up a Shoot the Moon in place of a Mail and Rebate, which was a big mistake as it would make it very difficult to find the jokers I need. But I was able to find Raised Fist again, which I replaced Bloodstone with, and moved on to the face-off, with my opponent on 1 life, ready to win the match. but after seeing their score was still so low, I decided to throw the round as I wanted to see the run through. I ended up doing this the next face-off as well, but without any money from rail and rebate, I couldn't do much, and by the final face-off, I had a mediocre Baron build which got me 8 million chips, winning me my third game. I was on a pretty good streak at the moment, so I would try my best to keep it up in this next game, and it started with yet another Bloodstone, something I would see quite a lot in these 10 matches, but with it being so strong I had to take it and I let it carry me through these early blinds, picking up to-do list along the way. With to-do list I was able to get a good amount of money, but the rerolls wouldn't amount to much other than a 6th sense that I would only remember to use once. And as usual with only one scoring joker in the face-off, I decided to throw the round and go for to-do list for some extra money, which seemed like the right choice as my opponent was scoring quite higher than me already. In the small blind, 6th sense gave me a hex card, which I didn't think would be useful at this point, so I held on to it to have a better chance of finding the spectral cards I needed. And it seemed to be the right play, as in the big blind, a spectral pack gave me yet another Ankh, so with Bloodstone being my only useful joker at this point, I sold the rest off and used the Ankh, forgetting to hex it before, costing me a free 2x malt. Before heading off to the face-off, I rerolled to find a Hanging Chad, which would be quite helpful with the 2 Bloodstones. But even with a straight flush and Hanging Chad, it wouldn't be enough as my opponent was still quite far ahead, meaning I would need a lot more luck or to find something to close the gap. And with an early rare tag that I noticed my opponent didn't take, I decided to skip it, hoping for a joker that would be enough. So I beat the big blind and was given the family, giving 4x malt if your hand includes a 4 of a kind, which I wouldn't be able to utilize with Bloodstone yet, but I wasn't far off. So with nothing else of use in this ante, I readied up for the face-off yet again, expecting to lose. But to see what I could score with a 4 of a kind, I discarded for my queens as I already had 2 Queen of Hearts, and though it was an improvement, it wouldn't be enough yet, and again my opponent made it very clear with their score. These early shops would have nothing of use yet again, and with not having an econ joker to help me find what I needed, I decided to take another risk in the spectral pack, giving me one last shot at finding a rare joker I need. Instead, it gave me Campfire with $0 to feed it, heading into the face-off with 1 life. And even though double Bloodstone is very strong, without any glass or oops all 6s, it wouldn't be near enough to get me to my opponent's score, resulting in my first loss, putting me at 3-1. And this streak would continue, as in my very next game I was up against one of the top players, and even though I was able to make a very strong build again with Bloodstone, it wouldn't be enough. And just a couple games after that, I was in a winning position, but threw the match on a small blind while greeting for econ and not realizing what suit Ancient Joker was on. It was not looking good at this point, being 4-3, and with my goal now being to get to the top 100 before the 10 games are up, I would need to lock in for these last few matches. But I was feeling good heading into this next game, as I was yet again facing Ghost, the same player I beat in my very first match. For this game, we decided on Ghost deck, and I would remember to use my Hex this time, as there was a photograph in the first shop, leading to a very strong start. And in the second shop, I picked up a Red Seal King from the Spectral pack, setting me up even more, and this continued into the next ante, as it started with an Invisible Joker in the shop, setting me up for a double Polychrome photograph build. But with the Invisible Joker not ready before the face-off, all I had was a photograph, and even though I was able to play a 4 of a kind Kings with red seals, it would not be enough to win the first face-off. Starting the third ante, my Invisible Joker was ready, so I copied my photograph and passed on a Polychrome dagger as it was too expensive, then picked up a medium spectral card to start fixing my deck for photograph. Then, in the next shop, I picked up the Overstock voucher along with Hallucination and Familiar to also help me get more face cards. In the big blind, I used the Familiar, which gave me 3 kings, 2 of which were glass, which was the best outcome I could hope for. With the enhanced kings along with the leveled up 4 of a kind, it was more than enough to win the next face-off, and in hopes of keeping this lead, in the next shop I rolled down and used a Wraith. While not useless, it only gave me a hit the road jack, but it was worth checking in case it gave a blueprint that Ghost was able to find and I wasn't. Being on $0 due to the Wraith, I decided to sell hit the road jacks in hoping of finding a Temperance in the Arcana pack, to no luck. With no money to spend in the rest of the ante, it was already time for the next face-off, And though I didn't level up much, with such a lead already, I played a 4 of a kind, saving one of my glass, thinking it wouldn't be too bad to get the money from the lost life, but it wouldn't matter as I was still able to win the round regardless. The following shop shows why I go for kings instead of any other face cards, as Baron showed up, giving me just a little bit more scoring. So I sold off my extra jokers and used Hermit so I could afford it, and purchased Baron along with the burglar in the next shop. And this would again be enough to win the face-off, and this build persisted through the next ante, and with my opponent on 1 life, I played one last hand, winning me the round with 2 polychrome photographs along with Baron. That win, along with the next match taking a break from face cards and winning the round with a very strong glass 5 build with hack, I was now 6-3, just 1 win away from top 100. For my last match, I decided to challenge Beans and Bone, a fellow Balatro YouTuber who has also been playing the rank mode recently and had climbed quite high. So I queued up against him to find out who's the better bean. The match started very econ heavy with a gift card along with a judgment giving a credit card, and in the second shop I picked up a Diet Cola to give me a double tag and passed on the seed money voucher as it would take a while to recover from the debt. I was able to just get by the boss blind, and the following shop would yet again not have a scoring joker, so I picked up reserve parking along with Turtle Bean as they work very well together and is very fitting for this matchup. Without any scoring jokers, the 800 chip requirement would be very difficult, but I had a plan, so I played my hand and made as much money as I could with reserve parking, and for my last hand, I used my tarot card to make a straight flush, just getting me by. This gave me enough money to roll and find my first scoring joker in the next shop, which I finally sold cola for. Now I could repeat this strategy of using reserve parking along with Turtle Bean to generate econ without the risk of losing a life. In the next shop, I picked up blue joker and a holographic burnt joker for some scoring before the first face-off. I then discarded a flush to level it up, and played a few more, just winning me the round while being in a great position for econ. In the next shop, I replaced Turtle Bean for Hit the Road, and sold reserve parking for Swashbuckler as it would be less useful without Turtle Bean, and Swashbuckler worked well with gift card. In the last shop before the face-off, I got rid of blue joker and picked up Sock and Buskin, but this would cost me the next face-off as I lost by just a few chips. Having a lot of money in this next shop, I was able to re-roll and find Blueprint along with Seeing Double. And seeing a rare tag on the small blind, I skipped it, finally using my double tag. Though this would be a mistake, as with unlucky draws not giving me a 4 of a kind, I lost my second life to the big blind, and it was just more bad news in the shop as the rare tags gave me baseball card and the trio. While not useless, it wasn't quite what I was looking for, but this wouldn't matter as a couple rerolls away I found exactly what I was looking for and picked up Brainstorm. With a very strong lineup of jokers in this next face-off, I had a chance, but without any glass, I would take the loss, putting me on 1 life. All I needed in this next ante to take the lead was 1 piece of glass. Though the first shop didn't have anything, the second shop would have a Hanging Chad along with Justice, which those alone would multiply my score 256 times. All I needed to do was find the glass in the face-off, which luckily I was able to, and play the 4 of a kind, which scored over 2 million chips, which was strong, but my opponent was closer than I would have liked, being just 2x away from my score. In the next shop, I put a red seal on one of my jacks, which wouldn't do much for now, but if I was able to find a photograph or turn it into glass, it would be very strong. And in the final shop, I was able to pick up a Justice card before heading off to the next face-off, still on 1 life. Luckily, I was able to draw my glass card along with my red seal and played a very strong hand, scoring 60 million chips, putting me well in the lead and in a strong winning position. So I headed into the next blind very confidently, but this may have been my downfall, as in the first blind I discarded for my jacks looking to play a 4 of a kind, forgetting that I couldn't play one without glass, so I pivoted without realizing I had removed any possibility of drawing a 4 of a kind. And though I was very close to the requirement, it wouldn't be enough, and I lost to the small blind after just scoring 60 million chips. So that was it. I failed to make the top 100 within 10 games, but this wouldn't matter much as I had come to like the rank mode quite a lot during this challenge and continued climbing, and am now comfortably sitting in the top 100. If you're interested in the mod, I'll leave a link below to the Discord with instructions on how to download it, and I hope to see you in the queue. Bye.